Next up, we have David Charles Allen from The Hop. That's the Home Ownership Podcast. It's a Beautiful Life.
Hey, Patty. Today we have a special guest joining us, Labyrinth artist Denny Dyke. He first created circles in the sand for his own walking meditations, and he soon became fascinated with the ocean and ever-changing sand. After 3 years and hundreds of labyrinths later, the first dream-filled labyrinth was created in September 2014. Denny, how you doing today?
I'm doing just great, David. Thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you.
We sure are. I've been really looking forward to this.
So Denny, tell us a little bit about your background and how did you start doing what you do?
Oh, let's see. Basically, I started with labyrinths in about 2002. Got pretty well immersed for about 2 or 3 years. A lot of the traditional labyrinths, typically a labyrinth you walk from the beginning to the center and then back out. What I do on the sand is actually a continuous path, so you go to center and then there's a separate way out so we don't have people going around each other. This year, I've had to make a radical change to my designs because of COVID. Instead of my tight spirals and everything that are involved with the labyrinths, I've had to go to more of a meandering path so I can keep my 6-foot distancing. Fortunately for that, it gives the people walking a lot more time to see the artwork that's out there and just enjoy the trip a little bit. But yeah, so after 2003, I moved up to Oregon in 2007. Didn't really start drawing on the sand at all until 2011. I'd like to point out that prior to this, I was not an artist other than, roller on a wall. And but anyhow, so I started drawing on the sand in 2014. I came up with is now referred to as my dream field, which is one continuous path. And it goes through 3 or 4 or more labyrinths and then comes out close to where you went in. It's been a pretty fascinating thing to do. And then, of course, keep in mind that, this is no longer a one-man team. I started off drawing alone when I went public in 2015. Quickly, I was joined by Christine Merring, who's still with me today as a sand artist. And there's a lot more on my team now. So we actually get on the sand about 2 hours before our walk time. And that gives us about an hour and a half to actually draw the pattern out, which just comes to us that day. We don't preconceive too much other than the general theme that we're going to use. So after we get done, then we invite a lot of volunteers to come in and they use rakes. And it's kind of like a Zen thing. I created a giant paint by number and they're invited to come in and fill in the voids. Really makes everything pop for us.
That's beautiful. So you answered one of my next questions. So you said you weren't an artist in the past. What was the first time you did this? What got you to do it for the first time?
Actually, I was doing traditional labyrinths at the time. And there's a lot of confidence when you have a set pattern, you want to complete. So, you do it that way. But I never really had the free form, just go out and do what felt right. And then I spent, 2011 is when Circles was actually started. I would spend 5 days in a row down on the sand, drawing different patterns, all individual work. I was getting quite a reputation around for being the aliens that landed overnight, like these marks on the sand, And then, of course, the crop circle guy. I had that one going around for a while.
And you're the Sandman. That's a nickname too, isn't it?
yeah. That one's kind of stuck with me. I kind of like that.
I like that one too.
So where do your ideas of these patterns come from? Where do they come to you in your dreams? Do you get them from crop circles you see online? Or how do these ideas come to light?
Well, actually, if you look at it from my standpoint, it's like having a giant Tinker toy set. Okay, I've got this kind of spiral and this kind of spiral, and I got this labyrinth. I'll put in a Baltic wheel or something along that line, and then just connect them all together. So when I'm on the sand, I can see the texture and where it's wet and dry, and I can kind of decide, okay, entrance goes here, exit will go here. I always put in a dedication circle. I'd like to discuss that just for a second.
Of course.
I put about a 12-foot circle in the sand when I first get down there. Then around that, I put about maybe a 40-foot circle. And then when the sand artists get there, they'll put circles in the sand in the center one with a logo of some sort. And then that's my dedication circle. Anybody that comes up is invited to sign their name or a dedication. I keep chopsticks around the outside for them to use. So that is actually the first focal point when I get down on the sand. And then I put in the entrance and exit, and then it's a matter of walking out in the middle of the sand somewhere and say, okay, where do I start? It's quite a fascinating process. Somebody asked me how I do it, and it says, you just have to walk with me and I'll explain it as I go, because I just do it.
That's amazing.
Boy, it really is. And it takes an amount of trust, doesn't it? That you're going to come up with something, or maybe it's coming from God, because I know that your intention is love. So where does the inspiration come from?
Yeah, it's when I first started, I was still doing a lot of traditional stuff in January of 2015. And then I started just playing around with the dream field because people really liked it. They didn't have to worry about going to the center and coming back out or protocol. They could just enjoy it. At that time, there was no additional artwork or anything. So that was kind of the way it got started. Where it's at now, it's grown exponentially. I think the largest one we've done covered 2 acres.
Oh my goodness.
The largest walk we've done.
How much space, did he?
2 acres of sand.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Yeah, 2 acres. And I think, Beth, did we hit 2 miles? we were awful close one year to a 2-mile walk. Typically, when I'm using my spirals, the walks will run about 3/4 of a mile or over a half. Now with the new patterns where I can't run my tight spirals, we're down to, there's still a 1/4 mile. You know, it's a 15-20 minute walk for people.
That's crazy. That's great. I mean, Patty kind of touched on it. Your intention is love. And is that the message? Is that why you do this? Is just to spread love and joy to everyone that sees it, and you taking part of it and doing it every day? I'm sure you get a good fulfillment out of it.
Yeah, that's what it's really all about, David and Patty. It's try to share love with the community, share the ocean, share the experience. Initially, it was I felt I was tricking people into meditating by not letting them know, because you start walking and all of a sudden you start feeling better, and walking will do that for us at any time. Take a couple deep breaths. Being down at the beach sure don't hurt, and then just relax and enjoy the path. It's amazing as human beings how focused we get on the minutiae of our lives. There's all these distractions. You get down there walking one of my pieces, there's one path. Follow it, enjoy the artwork that comes up, and keep moving. I always have a saying out there that says, leave behind what's not needed. Okay.
Wow, that's really incredible.
That's something we have to remember. It's been fascinating.
I was going to ask you about the history of labyrinths. I know they're a very powerful tool, and yours are very special. There's more than one way in and out. Is it just the mindfulness of them, or is there something else about the circular pattern that makes them so powerful?
Oh, that would only take about 4 decades to go over completely.
Okay.
But no, the classical labyrinths, the ones you typically see in the deserts with the 7 circuit, with the cross in the middle, it's also been used. It's found on all 7 continents. It's been has no direct religious connotations, although it has been used for some religious things. But the intention has always been to just quiet the mind. One of the stories I liked is over on the Baltic coast. They were in the old wooden ship days. The families would walk a labyrinth to ensure their captain had a safe voyage there and a safe voyage back.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, labyrinths have been around a long time. There's the cathedral labyrinths, or the medieval labyrinths that came about in about 1200 AD. And those are the ones that people typically think of, the one in the Short Cathedral and that sort of thing. And they're just, the power that's built into them is a full study in itself. But the main primary thing is to get us to be able to focus and go inside and know that everything's okay. If you walk with intention, that multiplies. Okay. But just the simple matter of walking, being quiet, not having any other distractions is always a focus.
I feel like you put a lot of love, you and your team put a lot of love into all of these. So I feel that spreads to everyone that goes through it. They can feel that love and they can feel that intention and joy. And would you say you're in a state of meditation when you're making these, or is it more for the other people to kind of get in the state of meditation when they're walking them?
I go into that meditative state somewhere between the parking lot and the sand. I'll go up and look over and see where we're going to draw for that day, depending on where the sand shifted, and sometimes, overnight. Or there's a big wet spot where I drew the day before, so you have to go to a little different spot. But by the time I get down on the sand, normally, and my team's been real good about this and I appreciate it, I get to spend the first 10, 15 minutes down there by myself.
Oh, that's amazing.
Okay. There may be somebody walking their dog or something like that. So I got plenty of time to take some nice deep breaths, know where I'm at, know that it's perfect, whole, and complete, and know that everything we do is divinely guided. Okay. I draw everything below tide line. So before I stepped there was nothing but water. And then we embody all this love and energy into what we do. And then we present it to the public to just come and enjoy it. And it just magnifies. It's just an amazing thing. So yeah, I get to spend about 5 or 6 hours in a state that most people would envy, I'm sure.
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
So.
Well, the day of the event, when you have these events, the excitement must just be palpable, because that element of surprise, even to you, where exactly are you going to put it? What is it going to look like? It's just, I can't even imagine, although I want to imagine and see it. Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting because, well, now with cell phones, we'll get to see them. People come down, oh, you haven't seen it yet? Here. But you have to keep in mind, other than the general concept, we don't really preconceive what it's going to look like from up on top, even though that's probably where most of the viewing is. Drone shots of our work is just phenomenal. My website has got some time lapses and that sort of thing on them. They're just great. But yeah, what each of us go through, as soon as the dedication circle's done, when Christine's all done with that, by then, the rest of the team and I are working in different sections, and she'll call us all back in, and I'll open up with an opening, knowing that the day is divinely guided, perfect, whole, and complete. The people that need something will find it, and everybody else will just enjoy the day. And then we go back up and finish it up.
That's great, Denny. And you're not working with a blank canvas here, so to say. It's constantly moving and shifting. So how long do these last before the ocean gets to embrace that energy that you put out into the sand?
Other than a few variables, we normally count on at least 2 hours before at least part of it is touched.
Oh, wow.
And it'll be another hour before it's aggressively, being taken away. But within 4 or 5 hours, probably 70, 80% of it's gone. I've actually gone back a couple hours after I normally leave and see about, maybe 30 feet of it left, on the top end. And people are still walking the path. It's just, it draws them to it. It's amazing.
Wow.
That's truly beautiful.
Yeah. That would be the hardest part for me, because I do tend to get over attached to things. And, I can't imagine that masterpiece and then it's gone. But it would be the best lesson if I hung around with you guys, because, you just enjoy the beauty and then it's gone, enjoy the beauty and then it's gone. Wow. Yeah. Are people coming from across the country and maybe even the world to walk the circles?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact number, but Beth, one of my sand artists, kept track of some of that last year. I think it was something like 33 states and 16 countries in 19. This year's been a little bit different because of travel restrictions and that sort of thing. But we're still averaging about 200 people come down and visit us during a walk. We've got this big event coming up in Florence, Oregon this weekend. We're going to be drawing our first sunset draw. So that'll be in front of Driftwood Shores. This one is going to be extremely well attended because there's nothing else for anybody else to do right now, and everybody wants to get out on the sand. And normally they don't want to drive all the way down to Bandon to see us. So.
That's good.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And this might be a little tight for people to hear about that and to actually attend since, well, it will be online, so it will be all over. But what about upcoming events after that particular one?
Actually, we're going to go into what I call my impromptu season until April. Okay. Impromptu meaning about 3 years ago, I scheduled 20 draws during the winter. I canceled 14 of them because of weather. Okay. I added 12 when the weather was good and I could draw. And so I decided right after that, I says, well, we'll let everybody know on the website and Facebook, a week ahead or something when we think we can do it, rather than have people make plans. Now, right after we get back from Florence, we do have our summer schedule out, or between the team. So we're going to draw basically 32 days next summer. I think it starts the end of April. I'd have to check, but we will have that published here before the end of the month, so everybody can make plans.
That's great, Denny. So where do
David,
they
I bet you
follow you online?
I was just going to say, I bet you want him to go to Santa Barbara, don't you, David? How could we make that happen? That would be so amazing.
That would be
And
one
you
of
have
the.
to get.
That would be one of the places we
You have
want
to get permission. Yes.
Yeah, it's a
Do you
matter.
have to contact the city, or?
Yeah, especially.
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you.
A lot depends on. I'm fortunate up here in Oregon. All of our beaches are public beaches, so I do have some criteria from the state parks and that sort of thing. But up in, especially in California area, a lot of those are public or not public beaches; they're private beaches, and so got to really be careful as to where we go. We're talking about maybe San Diego. I'd love to draw in Carmel.
Oh, Carmel's so beautiful,
we've been invited to New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
Wouldn't that be just fun overnight trip?
Overnight trip, yeah.
Yeah, it takes you overnight to get there from what I hear. So it's going to be interesting to see, if we do start actually traveling. The issue is that normally when we draw 4 or 5 days in a row. And if we're traveling, we lose time. We can't, and then, gosh, my team's 9 people now. And, so we're looking forward to this trip to Florence. It's only an hour-and-a-half drive for us. And they're hosting us up there. So we'll be able to enjoy an evening together as a team. Then the next night, go down and see what we can do on the sand.
What about volunteers when you go to different areas? Do you allow some people to help you?
I increased it for Florence. I'm going to accept 18 volunteers. And I think it took about 2.5 weeks for those positions to be asked for. So I've got 18 volunteers that'll be meeting us up there. And we'll give them some rakes and then they can make us look good.
So is there any thanks you want to give to your team members or anything like that?
Oh gosh, where do I start? Do I have a list of names so I don't forget somebody?
Winning the Oscar.
Yeah, really. Christine Meering, our lead sand artist, really has been with me forever, and I always want to appreciate her. June Davies has been with us as an ambassador almost since the beginning, and then Beth Patrick. She started with us a couple of years ago and picked up sand artist in a fill-in position for Christine one weekend when she couldn't make it. And after that, all of a sudden, Circles had 2 sand artists. So we're honored to have that. I've also got the guy I refer to as my wingman, James Ferrara. He's been working with me almost 3 years now. He can fill in for me if for some reason I can't make it, or once I can't get down those stairs. And then his wife has now started doing shell art. I don't know if you've seen some of the shell mandalas that are in our pieces. Jackie, his wife, is doing that. And then we've got Bear Slowhour, who is, he's taken over as my lead groomer. Somebody's got to coordinate all these volunteers out there where they're working in different sections and all that. He's taken that on. Kathy Upton helps us with that and contributes every other way she can. June and Kathy also spend a lot of time at our entrance because we give everybody a dreamstone that comes in. And then Jim Upton, he does it all. He grooms for us. He handles the groomers. He does artwork when he's asked to. So I think I covered everybody. If not, I apologize. Oh, and then there's me.
And if people want to, oh yes, you, gotta thank you. If people want to learn more or even give a donation, because it looked like you accept donations, but where would they go on your website to see amazing pictures, to see your schedule, to give a donation? What's your
Okay, thank you
website?
very much. Yeah, the website is
Mhm.
www.sandypathbandon.com. Donations on the website are tax deductible, and we'd appreciate all that. We've got several primary sponsors in Bandon, and then we've got 4 sponsors, up in Florence this year. So we appreciate all their help, and it allows us to keep doing what we're doing. We are on state beaches. We do not take donations on the beach, and we can't sell anything down on the beach. Our 2021 calendar is out right now, and we've got some of those left. So yeah, if they'd like to support the
And
marketplace.
if you forget the website, you can,
I
it looks
just
like
hit
you can Google circles in the
just
sand.
Google circles in the sand, and you'll find out more about me and you need to know.
There you go, Denny.
Or want to know, I guess, So yeah, it's been an exciting 6 years. It's hard to believe that this started out just me on the sand, and now we're doing what we do, affecting the lives of so many people. We're expecting probably 400 or 500 people up in Florence.
Wow.
And it's going to be a gorgeous sunset. We know that already.
Gosh, you were a perfect addition to the hop, and the subtitle of the show is "It's a Beautiful Life." So, man, you fit the bill. That's for sure.
Yes, we do. Yes,
Yeah,
we do.
Denny, that's amazing. It seems like you really have a passion for spreading love. And what makes your life so beautiful outside of these labyrinths? How did you become the person you are today with this loving emotion being sent out to everyone else around you?
It actually starts with meditation and prayer work and getting to know yourself, because if you got to love yourself first, and that's a big ego trip for a lot of people. I finally been able to set ego on the far back burner. It's there. It's it's part of our lives. But it's just the more I give out there. What my opening talk, I talk about we're dedicated to meditation, which is a matter of simply being quiet, taking a couple deep breaths, know you're perfect, whole, and complete, and are a loving human being. Okay. The other part of that is transformation, which is just a big word for change. And we make change through intention. My intention every day is to spread as much love, joy, peace, harmony as I possibly can. Because as I'm doing that, that reflects back into my life and just makes me stronger.
That you couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have said it better myself, Denny. Those are words to live by.
Well, I'm inspired. That was beautiful, and gosh, I know we thank you so much, don't we, David, to have Denny here on the show today.
I couldn't be happier right now, Denny. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my honor, and hey, see me on the sand someday.
I will. I'll have to make a trip, that's for sure.
For sure, yeah. Take care, and thank you again so very much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. See you on the sand.
See you, Denny.
That was really lovely, wasn't it, David?
That was amazing, yeah. So yeah, Patty, that was great to have our guest, Denny, and it was great hearing what he had to share and just feeling that love and embracing emotions coming out of him. So we'll lead into this week's weather. We've had some warm days this past week, temps throughout the 80s and 90s, but we're looking ahead to sunny skies with temperatures throughout the week scattered in the 60s and low 70s. There's been some fun surf out there with a mix of south swells, northwest ground swells, in addition to some wind swell, and it looks like there's some more ahead on the horizon. So have fun and stay safe.
That's the key, isn't it, David? Fun and safe.
Always the key in love. If you take anything from Denny, it's love. So spread that love to everyone you encounter, and with true intentions, and you'll receive more in the end than you'll be given out. And I think that's a great motto to live by.
Absolutely.
So we'll continue with how the mortgage rates are performing. For 30-year fixed jumbo, they're at 3%. And then for 30-year fixed conforming, they're at 2.75%. So as always, they change from day to day, but still really low rates, and they're definitely keeping the market pretty hot.
Yeah, and it seems to me that it's happening in a lot of parts of the United States. I keep hearing from other places too, where, boy, those sales are hot.
Sales are hot, supply is low. You're not seeing a lot of people want to sell their homes unless there's an immediate need. So it's keeping the inventory really low, which makes people bid up prices. And, it's always about supply and demand and real estate and pricing just in general. So there's not a lot of supply, there's demand, price is going to go up. If the supply, we get a huge influx of supply, demand drops a little bit, then the prices decrease. So all just a balance and all depending on people's emotions.
Right.
So we'll jump into the stats of this last week. We had 54 new listings, 54 homes went pending, and 42 homes closed, 10 coming soon listings. And it's pretty consistent that we're having everything new listings in comparison to pendings, or basically have been even these last several months. So we're continuing a trend of things coming to market and stuff still selling. So we really haven't had a period of time to increase our supply, which is really limiting buyers. And as like we said before, is making prices go up because of all the demand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't be happier having this guest this week, Denny, on the show. And I look forward to being with you, Patty, next week on The Hop and giving it a go.
Thank you so much, David. It really is a beautiful life. Until next week. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.